So yeah, let's talk about transfers. I think the key place to start, obviously, is with the Brazilian duo that are dominating headlines in North London right now, and that is Richarlison and Rafinha. Yeah, it's an interesting one because it very much seems an either-or. It seems a who fits who scenario as well. I have a personal opinion on this, which I'm going to share in a minute. I mean, in terms of them, look, Richarlison, we know Paratici really likes Richarlison. He reportedly wants to leave Everton. And, the fact that Everton have financial fair play issues, which we're going to talk about as well, and the fact that, Richarlison's represented now by CAA Base, an agency with very, very close links to Spurs, and he's only got 2 years left on his contract now, and he's a Premier League ready-made player. I can totally understand that. He had a good season. I mean, in an Everton team that are really struggling, 10 goals and 5 assists from 30 Premier League matches, and obviously he's very versatile. We know that he can play pretty much anywhere across the front three. So that's Richarlison. The alternative, another player that Spurs like, of course, is Rafinha. Now, he scored more goals, 11 goals for Leeds and 3 assists. It's been quite widely put out there that he'd prefer to move to Barcelona, but Barcelona, unlike you say, to kind of, I think we're looking at similar-ish price tags for both of these players, both plus, 50 million plus players. Some talk that potentially Rafinha could be 60. Maybe even 65. But obviously Barcelona at the moment are not going to be able to pay anything like that until they get some people out the door. I think Arsenal had an earlier bid rejected. And obviously lots of talk about them. I think he's also got 2 years left on his deal. So, I said I was going to give my personal opinion. So my personal opinion is that I prefer probably Rafinha as a player. I think they're both exciting attacking players, but I just feel like Rafinha, he's just got a bit of magic about him. He's a player that I really, really love watching. However, I actually think Richarlison is the better fit for Tottenham. And there's some noises that's Tottenham's thinking as well, or some people certainly within Tottenham. And I think the idea behind that is that, let's put it this way, the easiest way to put this, I spoke about the versatility. So, Richarlison mainly kind of plays on the left when he plays. I was looking at his Everton stuff last year, and he was either on the left or as a lone striker up front, especially filling in for Dominic Calvert-Lewin when he was out injured. So that's kind of the position that Spurs are looking for, because they're expecting to lose Steven Bergwijn, him going off to Ajax probably. So they are looking, Conte, as always, wants 2 players in every position. So Richarlison would fit that role on the left with Sonny, 2 of them. On the right, you'd have Kulusevski and Lucas, and then you'd have Harry Kane. But what Richarlison also does is we know he can play up front. So that, in a financial point of view, saves Spurs money on having to sign a striker. Unless there was an incredible deal. But in essence, if they chose to, they could just say, well, do you know what? Let's get Richarlison in. Let's use him for the left and up front. He can be the backup for Harry when he needs a rest up front. He can be the backup for Sonny. We can push all of them. We don't want to use backup. We shouldn't use backup in this new brave Spurs world. Everyone is a squad player, all pushing to play. So in terms of that, it makes sense. And I guess you could also say, because some people might say, well, that's not 2 players for every position. You could argue that obviously Perisic can also play on the left as well, which means that, you could say that he could be the backup for Sonny there. I don't want to use the word backup. And Richarlison is Harry Kane's backup. I just used it again and really need to get out of the habit of that. But you know what I mean. I think logically Richarlison makes the most sense, even though I prefer Rafinha as a player. But they both would bring something to Tottenham. They would. So with Rafinha, I'm probably killing the pronunciation of his name. Apologies to anyone connected with Rafinha. Rafinha. I don't think there's another I, is there? Rafinha. Oh, just me badly pronouncing names for a change. But with him, he is mainly a player who plays on the right. That is mainly his role. He can play on the left at a push. He can even play as a support striker, but he is mostly a player on the right. And that's where he doesn't quite fit what Spurs are requiring, because then you would probably have to move Lucas to the left. Some talk of potentially Lucas maybe going, which I don't think he's too keen to do. It would have to be an incredible offer, but I don't think Lucas is really looking to leave Spurs at all. I think, I get the impression of some of the interviews I've seen with him out in Brazil, maybe looking to just see out his contract and then maybe head back to Brazil. So Lucas would have to play on the left, which is okay. It's not where Conte really saw him. He saw him more as the right and Bergwijn on the left. But the key thing with Rafinha is if you signed him, you would need to sign a striker. You would. So Spurs with Richarlison looked at it and thought, well, we could actually put that money elsewhere. We wouldn't actually then need to get a striker, because we're kind of solving our problem because he can play up there. And, he scored goals as a striker for Everton last season as well. And they are both ready-made Premier League players. So, that I think logically makes sense. Look, if Spurs were able to get a breakthrough and see off the competition of Arsenal, I think Chelsea also looking at Rafinha and they signed him. Hey, I ain't turning that down. He's a terrific player and I would absolutely be thrilled to watch him play. But I would understand the logic of them pushing more for Richarlison. That's my thinking about it. So the other thing that comes into play with all of this as well is, if you're not aware, June 30th is the date when technically the transfer year ends when it comes to financial fair play. So teams like Spurs have got no issues with financial fair play. They are well in the good side. Everton, of course, are not. Everton having some issues. They're well known, their issues. So I do wonder whether there's something that has to be done there, whether they need to get outgoings done by June 30th, although that's a push now, or whether they just don't do any activity. Maybe, I don't know whether they could just scrape through or not at this moment in time, and then after June 30th things can start to work. But I'm told that June 30th, especially abroad, is a big thing. Clubs really, really kind of look to that, and it's almost like a deadline day for them to try and get stuff done. So maybe keep an eye on things happening in the next, date 26. So maybe in the next 4 days, just see whether some things accelerate with certain clubs, and that is because of that June 30th thing.